You're listening to Trailblazers.fm, an interview-styled podcast that delves deep into bold conversations with successful Black entrepreneurs and leaders. Join us weekly to learn actionable strategies, valuable tactics, and innovative tools that you can put to use immediately on your journey to blazing your trail. And now, here's your host, my husband, Stephen A. Hart.
Hello and happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Stephen A. Hart. I'm the host of Trailblazers.fm. If this is your first time joining one of our live broadcasts or live streams, I just want to say thanks for hopping in. You can learn more about Trailblazers.fm and all the things that I do over at StephenAHart.com. Listen, through Trailblazers, I've been blessed over the past 5+ years now to have bold, amazing conversations with over 200. I haven't done a count in a while, but it's probably close to 250 people at this point, which include, what I love to say as self-driven founders, best-selling authors, and passionate leaders. And my goal is to be able to document these stories, right? In hopes that they help to teach some actionable strategies, valuable tactics, and innovative tools that hopefully you can put to use in your journey to blazing your trail. Listen, at the time of us recording this live stream, we are celebrating Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and we have partnered with my friends, Kemal, Lauren, and Caitlin over behind the amazing movement that is Share the Mic in Cyber. And so we're doing a Share the Mic in Cyber episode every Friday morning live at 8:30 a.m. Eastern through the end of October. So I'm inviting you to wake up, grab a cup of coffee, right, and join us. And that said, allow me to introduce our featured guest for today. I have the amazing blessing of talking with Christina Morillo and Zinet Kemal. Christina is an information security, cybersecurity leader, an author with an extensive background in enterprise security deployments and migrations to cloud. Zinet is also a best-selling author and a career changer in cybersecurity. She's currently working as an associate cloud security engineer at Best Buy. So let me go ahead and get both ladies into the stream. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Yes, excited to have you both here. We kick off every conversation on Trailblazers from the same place we have probably since 2017. And it's from a place of gratitude. And so wanted to invite each of you to share an unexpected blessing that you're most grateful for in your life right now.
That's a good question. I don't know about unexpected, but I would have to say that what I'm grateful for outside of my family, obviously, is my ability to be bold and brave, even when I'm scared. So I could say that's a little bit unexpected. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. For me, just, in this time of pandemic, right? Just having my family and being healthy and just the community that I was able to, be part of, over LinkedIn, my career community, and then my author community, just being able to write my children's book, and then just getting integrated with the whole indie authors, and just having my family around me and having their support, my children, just so grateful.
I love that. Listen, I this morning I'm just grateful for life. I shared with both of you before we hit record that my dad is here with me. I'm in the role of caretaker, and yesterday we celebrated his birthday, and so that's that's a blessing for me today. Is having him here is the blessing of life through all the challenges and struggles of 2020 and 2021, which feels like it's taken off some more of the hair off the top here. But I'm just grateful for life, right? So
happy birthday to your dad.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So wanted to talk a little bit about your backgrounds, right? We are celebrating Share the Mic in Cyber and Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and curious to know, I mean, you both are women of many talents. You have so many things happening, but bring me back, and maybe we start with Christina. Bring me back to where you first identified that you had an interest in tech.
Yeah. So when I was about, I think I would have to say like 7, I had a friend who's my best friend, her dad was a dentist. And back then, it's like before times when computers were super expensive and super inaccessible. He bought her an Apple II GS with a dot matrix printer. And I remember she had like absolutely no interest in this, machine. And I was enamored. I was so fascinated. I would create banners and print them. And I was just like in shock. Like I was in complete shock. And I just couldn't understand like how what I created on the screen translated into this like, physical object. And I just wanted to do that. Like she wanted to go out and play. And I was like, no, I'm just gonna like go to your house just to like be on your computer. And coming from an immigrant family and being first generation American, we really couldn't afford a computer, right? Like I didn't have my own computer till I was in college, and it was because I built one. So during those years, I didn't really think about, oh, I'm going to have a career as a technologist, right? Or even in security, like what's that? I just like followed my curiosity, and after some trial and error discovered that, oh, this is an actual career, right? Like information technology, and I could actually do this for a living. Like how cool is that, right? So that was kind of like the beginning. But even further back, my uncle is an electrical engineer, and
Oh, wow.
so always had like, he was really good in math, or he is really great in math. He's so much smarter than me, and he always had like pieces and puzzles and like computer pieces and like boards at home. And I had no idea what that was, but it was just like in my face all the time. So I think the combination of the two was what kind of put me on the path, but without me knowing, really. Yeah.
I love that. And Zinet, I know you're an immigrant of Ethiopia. You're a mom of 4. You're best-selling author. I believe I read that you also had a background in law. So you have all these things happening, but tell me about what led to this attraction to tech and to cybersecurity.
Yeah, I didn't have the traditional start. So I moved here, like you said, from Ethiopia 8 years ago. And I didn't have a computer until I think we got here, probably, because I remember, back in Ethiopia, we had one high school class session for 1 hour per week where we were seated for 5 people, and we would just fight to get, a chance to get a stroke at the computer keyboard. But yeah, I had a legal background and a law degree before I moved here. And I've always wanted to be in technology because I'm always fascinated by it, like how things get built in and getting programmed to solve humans, everyday problems, right? So when I moved here, I said, like this is an opportunity to be whatever you can be, because back home, if you are, chosen a certain path, you cannot change that. Even from high school, if you're in a natural science track, you have to be in that, and there are specific fields that you have to be in. But here you can change and be whatever. So when I moved here, I had my 3-year-old son. Now he's 11 and in middle school. I don't know how that happened. And then I was 7 months pregnant when we moved to Minnesota, and very snowy Minnesota and crazy. We didn't know anybody. It was just the person that my husband's friend that he knew from high school. They chatted on Facebook, and she said, come on over to Minnesota, because we didn't have anybody. when we moved here. That's how random it is that we picked Minnesota when we got that visa to move here. So she said, you can come here, but after 4 days, I'm going back for the first time to Ethiopia in 8 years to visit her family for the first time. So that was pretty much the guide that we got, 4 days only. And then, she's away and we're on our own navigating everything. Yeah, and I had my second one because I was very pregnant when I came. And I had, my second child, so I decided to be in technology. And right after I had her, I joined community college, so did computers, programming, computer science. And then, like Christina said, what's security? Like, I've never heard of it until the last very year of my computer science class. And then just, I was part of a competition that represented the university in a cyber defense competition at a collegiate level. And then that's how I discovered, cybersecurity. I don't know if that was the question, but yeah, my story goes all over. But yeah, I do have a legal background and I'm a career changer. And from then on, I never stopped, after the competition and, exploring different certifications just to grasp everything from networking to, the basics to the cloud, I guess.
Yeah. How's the legal background helped with some of what you're doing in cloud today?
I've never talked about it because we've always say that, whatever we learn outside of the US, I think it's the society, I believe, is that, even doctors and people like coming, you have to restart over and never, until recently, I've never talked about that. I even had like a legal background or I had a law degree that it has, but it definitely has a lot of the transferable skills that you can apply, the attention to detail and a lot of the skills that come in and be useful in a lot of aspects. Of course, it's in Ethiopia, it's somewhere else, but you learn definitely the human rights, international law, and all of those things that could be applicable, like in terms of compliance and other the essential skills that you learn from being in school and writing and all of those things, I guess.
Yeah. I imagine that it has to be, great to be able to leverage that kind of talent and skill, those skill sets into what you're doing today. And that's awesome. As I thought about this conversation, I really wanted to pick your brains, right? Because I have my inspiration for Trailblazers was my then 4-year-old daughter, right? I have 2 crumb snatchers. They're now 7 and 11. And, I am always kind of looking at, where their talents lie. And I truly feel like my daughter, now 11, could do really well in the world of cyber, just given her personality, her skills. And, I'm looking at 2 really bold, smart, successful women of color on my screen in cyber, and I'm thinking, how do we encourage, how do we foster the type of one, just seeing representation of the 2 of you is powerful in and of itself. So I acknowledge both of you for doing the work you're doing. And setting that example for her and for others, right? But what would be your advice, right, to other women, Zinet, other immigrants, right, like that are looking at tech, looking at cybersecurity, or they're seeing all these older white men, right, and saying, I don't know if I can do this, right? The 3 of us know we need to bring more diversity into the world of cybersecurity. We need more brothers too, but how do we bring more women and girls in? How do we speak to them about this in a way that encourages them to foster that and to push forward? Christina, I'll open it up for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really great question, and I think that it's one of those things that's super complicated. It's easy but complicated, right? I think when
Yeah.
I was growing up, I didn't have that representation. So, the whole saying of like, you can be what you can't be what you can't see, et cetera, et cetera. Like that didn't apply to me because I didn't have it. I just had a lot of determination and grit. Now it's different for everyone. I think that what we can do is pull the ladder, like pull people up with us, right? I think that doing these things, sometimes it's okay to do like, I don't know, this might be controversial, but like unpaid speaking events, right? Like for me, I have two daughters as well. So I'm very focused in that they are exposed to different things, different careers, different, whether it's cyber or a tech adjacent career, discipline. I want them to be able to see that representation, but I also want them to be very clear on what they want to do. I think that it's not something that we can force upon people, right? I think that there has to be a vested interest as well. And I think part of that is for us to kind of, for lack of a better term, market this discipline a little bit better, right? Like talk about what we do. We need more of us talking about the different aspects, right, of cyber, and the different opportunities, right? There's so many different opportunities. I think that there's this misconception that like being in technology, you have to like know how to code, which is always a plus, obviously, but that you have to be great in math, great in science, and know how to code to be successful in technology. And that is not the case. So I think that we need to just do a better job of exposing these diverse career sets, and also holding those white men accountable as well, right? Like some of my biggest allies and sponsors have been white men, and some of my biggest detractors have been white men, and people of other races as well, right? It's not always specific down. It's like it's a little bit, there's a little bit more color, right, than the black and white. So I think that we need to take advantage of those opportunities, and then folks like Zinet and I, and our Share the Mic and Cyber kind of allies need to do just continue to do that, continue to like market this discipline, market the space, talk about what we do, show the variety, talk about the good and the bad. That's super important, right? We can't all just highlight the beautiful positive. We have to talk about the negative as well, and give it nice color and nice balance. I think that's super important. I think you're on mute, Stephen. Ew.
Yeah, that I am. Zinet, how do we? I'll ask you the same question, right? How do we bring some of these women and girls into cyber, especially women of color?
Yeah, it's all of the things that Christina said, absolutely. And like I said initially, had I known, I wouldn't be doing maybe computer programming and computer science. We didn't have that initial, exposure of like we have this as a field, as a career, and I'm still discovering that, cybersecurity, having all those 7 and 8 domains. I always, think about like people always say, I want to be in cybersecurity, but then which one? Because it's so broad and it has so many domains, about 7 or 8. Just creating those, making those information available. It could be through the webinars, and I mean the information is always out there, but just making those informations available, and to have kids and children at young age getting exposed that. And I'm working on my second children's book, and that has to do with sparking some sort of interest for women to explore areas of STEM, and then also specifically cybersecurity. So if we don't show people that, oh, this is something that exists, then people can't aspire for it and work for it. So I think we have that responsibility to create that information. And like Christina said, talk about the good and bad. Like it's not always, and it's not the stereotypical that men always wearing a hoodie and just coding in a basement, or that you have to be a math genius. There are different aspects of it. I have a computer science degree, but I may not like to code all day and night, and ignore my 4 kids. Maybe that's not something by choice. It's something that you may not want to do. So having that information available, I like the website cybersec.org, where it gives you, the different channels, having those information. I get surprised when people, always say that, what's that website that you mentioned? Always whenever I go this kind of events. And I always mention that to give people, from whatever entry point that they are, if they want to pivot, just recognizing your learning mode and how you thrive. Do you learn by looking at videos, or so it's everybody. So find something that would work for you, and then also as professionals in the industry to make those information available for people, especially from the young age, and creating that exposure is very valuable.
I just want to add to that, Stephen. I just also want to. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to also say that, like, I think it's important for us to hold our educators accountable as well, and just the education system in general. Like, I noticed that in my kids' class or my kids' school, there wasn't like a computer science class, so I've been bugging them like crazy. Like, hello, like, why isn't there? Like, we're in 2021. Like, what do we have to do to make this happen? Like, do we need to incorporate it into the curriculum? So I think that we need to be, especially parents, we need to ask those questions. We need to really put the educators and the education system like on the map. Like, we need to put them on the spot. We need to ask these really tough questions and ask for timelines, right? We have to have an active voice, because if not, no one else will. I mean, in addition to the supplementary material, right? Like, you can be a part of 85 clubs, but if you're inundated with like your homework, when do you have time for that, right? So
Right.
I think it's important for it to be really part of every child's curriculum starting kindergarten, but there's going to have to be a little bit of push to make that happen.
Anna had a comment here in LinkedIn that says, she's referencing an organization, Science Club for Girls, that she had her daughter in, and I think it'd be great, right, to highlight, that yes, there are many clubs out there for girls at different levels, right, that introduce them to tech, to the world of tech, to the world of cyber. And so, yes, great. Thanks for sharing that, Anna. Any other organizations that you guys, beyond Science Club for Girls, that you might want to highlight?
I love Girls Who Code. Love them. And I also love Black Girls Who Code as well. I've worked with both organizations, and I just love what they're doing. I don't think there's so much of a focus on cyber, but I think that's coming. They're adding that to their curriculum because they see how popular it is, obviously. But I think that they're doing excellent work. I'm sure there are a dozen others. There's even like local community club. There's like a Girls in New York City. I think Girl Scouts is also doing something with cyber as well. But yeah, there's so many interesting girls clubs, which is important, right? I think that offers younger girls that community as well. Yeah.
Love it. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Zinet.
Yeah, I was gonna say Black Girls in Cyber, but I'm not sure if it was like for young ones. But there are organizations like Empower Cybersecurity, all those organizations to empower women to explore and break into the cybersecurity field. But I'm not sure if they might have initiatives to work at a younger age level.
Yeah. I will just add to what you both shared, and thank you so much for that. One of the things I just want to impress on everyone that's watching this is that, listen, I'm in the world of cybersecurity. I consider myself a cybersecurity professional, but I'm a marketer for the SANS Institute. I don't have that tech background, right? I am exposed to it by way of my need to share the offerings of SANS, right? But I'm gainfully employed, and I'm very happy in the role that I'm in as director of new media content at SANS. But I don't have a background in tech, and so I just want to emphasize that there's so many more opportunities within this industry for you, right? You don't necessarily have to have that tech background, right? So just important to kind of highlight that. Listen, you are both amazing authors, and before I let each of you go, Christina authored, and let me just go ahead, and I'm the one messing with tech on my side, and so I'm I'm gonna do a solid and share with you guys. And there's in the comments below, there's a link to a hard link to Amazon. So there's no chance, right? But this is Christina's book, 97 Things Every Information Security Professional Should Know. I am looking through the pages of this, Christina, and I'm just so excited because there's so many of my friends that you've had featured in here, and it's so dope. Tell me about the inspiration for this and kind of how you and O'Reilly got together in working on this.
Yeah, so O'Reilly has a really great series called 97 Things Every, and then fill in the blank.
Right.
So it's pretty much just like a Bible, right? It's like having a little like advisor in your pocket. It gives like folks that are working in the discipline come together to offer collective wisdom, right, based on their experiences, their learnings, and where they're at. And so that was pretty much the premise. O'Reilly reached out during the pandemic, like last year, and proposed this idea for this series, right? It would be the first information security one. And so during a pandemic, I agreed because I don't know why, but I just agreed. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to bring 75 plus people together from every area, meaning like whether they were entry level, whether they were super experienced, whether they were in between, without them knowing each other, right? Like some people know each other, but they didn't know that they were going to be in the same book, and kind of, devise a compilation, so to speak, right? I was really inspired by Marcus's Tribe of Hackers. I was actually in the first Tribe of Hackers. And so I wanted to kind of do that, but be able to provide folks reading the material more tactical advice, right? On like day-to-day information security issues. And so, that's, the rest is history. It took about a year to get from an idea, devising a draft, kind of like a concept
proposal.
Devising a proposal and then actually executing. I have mad respect to people that write books and edit books. It's a lot of work.
Yes.
Even when you're working with a big publisher like O'Reilly, it's a lot of work. Yeah. So yeah, but it was fun. It was fun. And I'm really happy that it came together so nicely, and hopefully it's a useful, knowledge, source of knowledge for everyone, whether entry level or experienced.
Yeah. And I mean, it's great, right? Like it's kind of a good coffee table kind of pick up, and it's you get a little bit of a nugget each on each story. So highly recommend, getting a copy of the book. Collective wisdom from the experts, right?
Yes.
So Zinet, I am just so encouraged. I got this book in, and me and my little 7-year-old man sat down in the couch and read your book, Proud in Her Hijab, a story of family strength, empowerment, and identity. I'm going to find a way and share this up, but tell me about the inspiration. I know, having read the book, but talk to us about inspiration for the book.
Yeah, and first of all, Christina, congratulations. That's amazing. And it's a lot of work. I self-published. I've never wrote anything before besides a school assignment. So, sometimes how you have crazy ideas. And this idea came in. It's just like, I want to write a children's book. And the inspirations are obviously, it's the kids, because I have 2 boys and 2 girls. And my 2 girls, even my son, who's 11, since they were in kindergarten, they would bring questions like, it's a compilation of, build up of those questions and answering, why does my hair look like this? Why do I get questions about this and that? It's just an inspiration from them. And I just, in the time of the pandemic again, in the middle of supporting those 3 kids in 3 different classes. Yep, the characters are all my children. their age and their names and everything. It's that's how it's portrayed in those illustrations and characters. But yeah, the inspirations are them and the questions that they bring in. And the book is it has two messages. One is, to inspire, uplift, and empower girls who choose to wear a hijab. There are so many things going on. To mention a few, just past week, there was a teacher who stripped off someone else's hijab in the class, a second grader, and that the girl got traumatized and everything. It's in the news and everywhere. And there are a lot of things that going on, in the world, in France. So just to give that empowerment that you're beautiful and just the way you are, embrace yourselves. You're not to be tolerated, but worth to be celebrated. It's meant to empower, and the other piece is to create awareness that people should be respecting other people's cultural differences, because it's a multicultural story. The background from Ethiopian food and all of those things illustrated or manifested, I guess, in those illustrations and in the story. So creating that awareness to foster that diversity and inclusion, and also to appreciate other people's culture, belief, and cultural differences. So with those messages, but the inspirations are again my children and their story, and they're pretty much get involved. But it's a crazy time, to be able to teach yourself how to self-publish, because I had no idea. It might look like it's just a 36-page children's book, but there goes a lot into it, from working with illustrators. And I just taught myself those whole journey of self-publishing through Clubhouse. I don't know if you know that platform. I got invited at the beginning of this year when I had that idea by a friend. He invited me, at that time it was only on an invite-only basis, Clubhouse. And that's when, after work, I would just be braiding my daughter's hair, listening in different rooms, or cooking in the kitchen. That's how I just got all of the information. I'm so grateful for how the book turned out and how it became a #1 bestseller as well.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a testimonial for Clubhouse right there. That I'm always inspired by. I'm not as active in Clubhouse, but whenever I do, I'll get into, especially on a morning walk, listening to some of these rooms, and they fire me up. But for those who are unfamiliar with Clubhouse, definitely go check that out. It's a platform, and Twitter Spaces is kind of a complement to that, a parallel at this point, but new technology. But listen, Christina, let me tell you, your book inspired me. I've been wanting to put together a compilation of all of these podcast episodes I've done on Trailblazers, and so this is fuel on another template, right? I've been looking at Tools of Titans by Mr. 4-Hour Workweek himself, and this is another idea on how this could potentially come together. So thank you both so much for writing these books, for taking that step forward, right? As we wrap up, I wanted to first off maybe ask, we always ask our guests, if there are other books that you're reading that you think or community should add to their reading queue.
Ooh, I have so many. I have 2 bookcases. I just started actually reading Minda Hart's book, Right Within. Yeah, you're gonna pull it up.
This one?
Exactly. I like to really balance my reading by I don't like to just do all technical books, right? So I do a combination of technical, like I'm reading an AWS book, and then also like inspiration or just something that's totally left field, right? Like a cooking book.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because I want to be inspired. So I want to get like a diverse set of like perspectives, right? To kind of form an idea, form a thought. So Minda Hart's book, because I want to be right within, right? And I want everybody else to be right within, right? And it's just so much deeper than that. And so I just started reading that one. I'm really excited about it. And yeah, like I said, I have a slew of technical training books. There's so many books. I mean, I think folks will have to follow all of us, and we'll just start adding like a thread or something, because there's so many books that I would recommend. Some that I can't even say the titles because it's like there's
Yeah.
vulgar words in the title, but are super helpful to kind of frame your focus, your discipline, and to get you on the right track. You know,
You know, I'm an audiobook junkie,
me
right?
too.
So I often, in fact, I'm listening to Right Within in audio. But Minda is one of my best friends, so my little sister. So I got the hardcover for my wife. But once I start getting into good audiobooks, I always want the hard copy of the book so I can kind of thumb through certain things that really grab my attention. But highly recommend Right Within. Zinet, is there anything that you're reading or you've read that you think would be good for us to add to our queue?
Yeah, I'm just surprised at how common it is that I love Minda Hart's book. I read the memo. I loved it. And, you might have seen my comments too. And then I have it, but I didn't open it. Right Within, I ordered it. And I have Christina's as well. Just ordered it yesterday, and it's coming. So my biggest issue is I start a book and I couldn't find the time. So both Christina and myself go to grad school at Georgia Tech. We never get to mention that. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things to do, but I try to write. And then I'm also an audiobook listener. There's one book that I'm currently listening, and I forgot the title, but it's about how do we heal the human race from, from divisive world. I'll have to look it up, the title, but it's also one of the author friends that I made through on Clubhouse. He's also recently published that book, but I have to look it up and put it in a comment. But yeah, I like to read books. I'm a huge fan of Trevor Noah. I love his Born Crime book. I always talk about that. I don't know. I love his book and all of his shows. Yeah, but I'm also writing the second children's book, so I'm always working on something. So it's hard to find, a sitting time to quietly read or do anything, because you help the kids with their homework, and it's a lot of craziness. But it's always good to have something to read, even if it's one page, half a page, per day. Get that going. Yeah.
100% on that. I feel the same, right? Like, I'm so busy. I have many hardcover books that I want to get into, and I can't thumb through. I don't have the time. But for my sanity, I walk quite a bit. So I'm walking the dogs. I can hit play in my pocket and kind of listen to books in that way, which is great.
I do want to give a shout out to all of the contributing authors for 97 Things. We had over 75 contributing authors. And I think it's just a testament to the community and how helpful the community is and can be. And, that everybody came together during a really stressful time. So shout out to everyone that's in the book. Please follow them. Please interact, engage with them. They're awesome, awesome folks. So.
Love it. So my last question for you. We love to end on an actionable. So what's your advice to our Blazer Nation on an action they can take this week that's going to help them to blaze their trail?
Wow. So I will say, be very clear on your why. So one of these afternoons or mornings, take a piece of paper or your iPad or whatever, and write down everything that's on your mind and see if you can find some parallels. And then once you get all of that out, write down a sentence articulating why you want to do the thing you want to do. Be very clear on your why. And the reason I mentioned this yesterday, and I mention it all the time, the reason I say that is because you need to understand your why so that you can either keep going, take breaks, but get back on, right? And so that you're not distracted by all the noise that you will encounter along your journey. So be very, very clear on why you're doing it. And your why should be for you. It shouldn't be to impress anyone. And it should not be because you want to be famous. And it should not be because you want to, you want opportunities that famous people get so that you can make a lot of money and not help others. Be very, very clear. I cannot stress that enough. Things will begin to fall into place if you understand why you're doing it, and if you are strategically aligned. If everything you do is strategically aligned to your why, things will fall into place.
Yes, 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 yes. All the yeses. Because listen, when you hit a roadblock, when, not if, when you hit that block, and you feel like just giving up, if you don't understand your why, you will give up, right? You will throw in the towel. But if you have a clear understanding on why it is important to finish what you've started, you will continue on, right? And it might not necessarily, be something that you achieve in the same time, right? My analogy for this is always a roadmap. If I'm coming from Maryland to New York, right, there's going to be some times where I hit, an accident in Delaware, and Google Maps going to tell me, listen, there's another path that can get you there, and it's going to add time to the journey, and it's going to take me in a different direction to get there. But understanding why I need to get to New York is going to help me to keep going longer and, more time, but I'm going to get to my destination instead of turning the car around and heading back home. Right. So you're preaching a word right there, sister. Appreciate that one. Zinet, what's the action that we should take this week?
This week, all of what Christina said again, because goals, right? I was going to say goals, but having your why, right? You're right. In those difficult circumstances, you would have the power and the strength to keep going, because everything that I'm doing and what I do, it's to inspire other people, but mostly my children, like, doing what you're doing. And they notice too. They notice everything that you do, even though you think that they don't. They talk about it. So just knowing what motivates you, and also not to be afraid and shy away from taking a break whenever those, while you're in pursuing of your goals and your whys, to recognize your strength and to find that inspiration from other people, getting involved in finding a mentor, and just to help you, just utilizing and leveraging your support system, even if it's one person. That is my husband. In my case, you cannot do whatever we are doing by ourselves, even though it's a moral courage and encouragement, to just utilize that support system and not to be afraid to take a break whenever you're exhausted and tired, because we're humans, right? So having a goal, a set of things, and then to stay focused, because we have a lot of information, information overwhelming, and we have all the resources and everything. At least on this side of the world that I'm in, I mean, you get overwhelmed with having all of the resources and information sometimes. So to stay focused and keep your eyes on the prize until you achieve it. And not to forget also in that self-care realm too. That's an advice for myself included. So because women don't do that, we're always looking after other people and our children and our homes, but we tend to forget until our cups are empty. So to remember that, to look out for ourselves and leverage our support system.
Gems upon gems. Listen, Blazer Nation, share this episode up with somebody you think it will impact most. Christina and Zinet, I appreciate you sharing some time with me this morning. Before I let you go, tell us how we can stay connected to you.
Yes, you can follow on LinkedIn, or request me. Let me know that you saw the show, and I will accept you. And my Twitter handle, I spend a lot of time on Twitter, actually. My Twitter handle is in my lower third, so you can find me there as well. So yeah.
Zinet.
Same for me. I love LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I know it's weird. I'm always on LinkedIn whenever I can, and also on Twitter. I don't have a lot of following, but I love it. I love following other people and just learning from everybody else. So connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Instagram, other social medias too.
Yes.
Yes.
Divine Psychic Girl and Zinet. I will make sure I share these links up for those listening on the podcast in our show notes page as well. And on that note, thank you both very much for coming on. Listen, Blazer Nation, I have been away from the podcast. I've been doing these live streams for almost a year now. And in November, I have to put this out there in the universe or it doesn't happen, right? So I'm claiming it that in November, I'm going to probably make this a Thanksgiving thing for those of you in the US Thanksgiving holiday. I am claiming that by Thanksgiving, we are going to be back on the podcast. So all these amazing episodes I'm hoping to have on the platform come November. Hold me accountable to that goal and help me to make that happen. That said, listen, go out, go rise above, go way beyond, blaze your trail. Join me back here Monday morning, bright and early at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you so much and have a great weekend.